Hey there, I'm Krista Vance, entrepreneur and operations leader.
And I'm Matt Vance, award-winning author and social innovation researcher. We're your hosts of the Culture Profit Podcast.
Your place for purposeful company culture strategy.
Learn from HR pros, executives, and thought leaders how to prioritize profits by prioritizing people.
This episode is sponsored by Mobrium, the best friend of forward-thinking HR leaders, helping you strengthen your employer reputation as a reflection of your real culture.
Learn more at mobrium.com. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's episode. If your job feels more like a bad relationship than a calling, today's guest might just be your career therapist. Renee Marchak joins us to talk about career pivots, personal engagement drivers, and how leaders can stop guessing and start aligning with what actually drives individuals' happiness at work. So Renee, thanks for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So good to have you. We're excited to dive into the conversation. First, I want to introduce you a little bit. So Renee's HR journey began in 1996 when she answered a newspaper looking for a people person. She faxed in a resume and landed a job as a headhunter, now called an executive recruiter. Since then, she's worked across all areas of HR for the past 15 years, she's focused on career development and employee engagement. After experiencing toxic workplaces and seeing too many talented people feel stuck, she made it her mission to make work better. Today, she helps people and organizations align with the 11 engagement drivers that we're going to go into today for employee happiness, because engagement drives results. And that is what the whole podcast is all about. That we completely believe in that too. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this career coaching.
Sure. So I'll add on a personal note, because my family, I'll talk about my family a little bit. They are my inspiration pretty much for everything I do. So I'm married to my college sweetheart for we're going on 26 years now. Yeah. And if anyone were to ever ask me, who do you admire most in life? It's my husband. I know that sounds really cheesy, but it's true for me. And then we have these three incredible young men that we've raised. Our oldest is going to be 25 in October, and our twins are 22. And the reason I say they're my inspiration for what I'm doing is they are, what's the word I'm looking for? Fervently, emphatically chasing their dreams. I have our oldest just got his master's as a strength and conditioning coach. So he is applying all over the country for jobs at colleges. And we've got one son who just graduated with his degree in sports broadcasting. And I'll brag a little bit. He won a national award 3 years in a row. So I'm like,
oh my goodness.
And our other son is in Savannah College of Art and Design, pursuing an acting. They're in their acting conservatory. So my husband and I, when we went to college, it was in the early 90s, and we studied what we thought we would be good at. We never really considered what we wanted to do. So it took us a long time to find that. For me, it just ended up being in HR because it truly was all about people. But there are so many verticals in human resources, kind of like technology or finance. There's so many different avenues to go in. And I've been fortunate enough to have had the opportunity to really dip my toe in each of them. But to your point in my bio, I experienced so many toxic work environments, not knowing that I had a voice. And then even if I thought I had a voice, I was too afraid to speak up, to say, hey, the way you're leading others isn't working for me, or I don't learn the same way as others, or what you're using as ways to motivate others just isn't working for me, because I thought it was just me. I thought I was the problem. And I also saw a lot of my friends going through the same thing. I don't know if it was just the way work was in the 90s, but that's kind of the environment we fell into. I also am the product of baby boomers. My parents are baby boomers. And when I graduated college, their thing was, you go to work, you don't ask questions, you keep your head down, do what they say, even if it's sweeping floors, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it's basically do what they tell you to do and don't complain, and just say thank you at the end of the day. So I was kind of, in a sense, told to keep my mouth shut. So I'd been walked over a lot. I'd been verbally abused by superiors, and it really does something to your self-esteem, and it kind of paralyzes you from moving forward. But fast forward, I began working for a company in Syracuse, New York, where I was hired as both career and engagement manager. So what I did was I worked with employees on helping them understand, helping them gain clarity on the career path that they wanted to go in. And I worked with leaders on how to drive engagement for their teams. I give credit, the 11 engagement drivers for employee happiness came as a result of work that I did at this organization with my VP. My VP was charged with basically evolving the engagement strategy for the company. And she came up with these, it was 10 engagement drivers, but I split one of them in two, physical work environment and psychological safety. But I do give credit to her because she came up with these engagement drivers. And what I have done, because this was the answer to all my problems. I mean, when I learned about this and I learned that I wasn't the problem, that what drives one person may not drive me, but I do have my own unique engagement drivers, I really felt like I found my calling. So going back to my kids, I'm watching them pursue their passions with so much energy. And I'm like, this is when I was 50. When I'm 50 years old, I am not yet doing what I really want to do and what I really love. I was getting a taste of it at my last company, but now I want the creative direction. I want the creative freedom. And I am a people person. I know how to relate to people. I know how to engage with them. And I just used that with a lot of curiosity, and I started my business.
That's amazing. And first of all, congrats to your sons. And I have no doubt that they have been inspired by you to chase their dreams. And I'm sure it's the other way around too, but I think that's amazing. And I am so sorry about the verbal abuse you've experienced in the past. And I do think that it still exists today, but I do think we're in a better society of like, let's have good, rapport, good respect. Yeah, for sure.
Not okay.
So maybe it is something to be with just the 90s, but certainly not okay, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I love that background, and I'd love to dive more into these engagement drivers.
Yeah, I just wanted to say just one thing real quick. I also wanted to point out, Renee, that I think it's so cool that you talked about your sons and your husband, and because relationships are huge. Relationships can shape us, and we have, those personal relationships that are on a different level of, closeness, but then in the workplace, there are relationships too. And, the manager inspiring and uplifting the team member, or the team member supporting another team member, or the team member helping the manager. I mean, there's all these relationship dynamics. And these drivers that we're going to talk about certainly kind of plug into those relationships to make work better for us as individuals and to produce better outcomes for the company as well. So I just wanted to call out, I thought that was really cool. And yeah, so tell us more about these engagement drivers. And let's jump into it.
Okay. So as I said, I first learned about these engagement drivers while working at my former company. And what they are the key elements or factors in an employee's work life that significantly impact their level of motivation for the work that they do, their trust in the organization, their commitment to their work, their team, their manager, and the organization as well, and then their loyalty to the overall workplace. And it really, there's a huge, the thing that sometimes leaders miss, but I think they're getting on board now is, when I talk to leaders about employee engagement, I always start by saying, this isn't just a feel-good initiative. It's about making people effective. So if your employees feel disconnected or unheard or even unclear about their unique purpose in the organization, it shows up in places like performance, turnover, customer service. But when employees are engaged, they're more productive, they're more collaborative, and they're committed to the company's overall success. There's always a statistic that I use because leaders want to see numbers. They're like, okay, this sounds all great in theory, but show me the numbers. And my husband's in finance, so he's all about showing him the numbers too. So there's a statistic from Gallup that I think gets attention, and that's companies with highly engaged employees see 23% higher profitability and up to 43% lower turnover. So I think that speaks volumes. And these numbers have been consistent across multiple Gallup studies, and that shows a strong correlation between employee engagement and business performance. So I frame them not as just feel-good initiatives, but as strategic investment with measurable ROIs. And so when leaders can see that connection between culture and the bottom line, they're far more likely to get on board. So the engagement drivers for employee happiness. The concept actually comes from Maslow's hierarchy of human needs to motivate behavior. So the pillars for Maslow's hierarchy are physiological needs, safety, love and belongingness, esteem, and self-actualization. And what's interesting is that it maps surprisingly well to the workplace, and it understand engagement often starts when those basic needs aren't being met. So I led a webinar recently called Finding Your Love Language at Work, and it's all about the engagement drivers for employee happiness. And I asked everyone to kind of complete a scorecard, and it was to help them determine what their top engagement drivers are. So for each engagement driver, I shared a sample statement that you might see on an employee engagement survey, and then I offered a couple of questions for them to ask themselves on how that driver might show up in the workplace so that they can reflect on how it relates to their experience. So they rated their level of agreement with the statement from 1 being strongly disagree, and then 5 is this is a must have, this is a non-negotiable. So I'm just gonna pull up my notes here. I'll go through the engagement drivers with you. The first one is recognition, rewards and recognition. The statement is, it is important to me that my contributions are recognized and appreciated by leaders and colleagues. And again, this is about finding what it is within that statement that you agree with. So you might want to ask yourself, do I feel more motivated to perform if my work is acknowledged by my managers and my peers? Or does public or personal recognition, like a thank you or a shout out or a reward, like boost my sense of self-worth? And then the next one is trust the manager. It is important for me to have a manager that is available and invested in my professional development and overall well-being. Questions you may want to ask yourself to understand if this is a significant driver for you. Do I feel more motivated when my manager genuinely supports my career growth and personal well-being? Or when I'm overwhelmed or uncertain, do I have a manager that's approachable and that can help me stay engaged? And then the third one is physical work environment. And it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's important for me to feel comfortable and safe in my physical space and have all the tools and resources that I need to be successful. Whether you're working remotely or on site, do you have a chair that is ergonomically fit for you? Does your work energy drop if your environment is poorly equipped, or if you have to go through all these different layers to actually gain access to what you need to basically set yourself up for success? So that's physical work environment. The next one is psychological safety. It is important for me to work for an organization that fosters a culture of belonging and inclusivity where I can bring my authentic self to work. And what this is basically saying is, do you feel more excited and more engaged when you don't have to mask who you are at work, when you can bring your authentic self? Do you feel safe making mistakes, knowing that they'll be seen as opportunities and not just opportunities to learn and not just reasons for punishment or blame? And then do feel like you can contribute more freely when you won't be judged or penalized. I love organizations that really invest in an environment where people are like, fail fast and just move forward. Or they view like making mistakes as just another step to innovation. So the next one is confidence in leadership. I'm seeing this come up a lot these days because of all of the organizations that are going through M&As and going through these major changes. It is so important to have confidence in leadership in order to ride those waves. So the statement is, it is important for me to have confidence in the executive leadership team's ability to provide strategic direction, navigate challenges, and make decisions in the best interest of the organization. First thing I would ask myself, does strong, transparent leadership increase my trust and investment in my work? Do I lose motivation if I don't believe that leadership can confidently navigate changes? Again, I see that a lot with M&As where they don't know what's going on from 1 minute to the next. The strategy keeps changing and they're just told they need to roll with the punches. And then am I likely to stay with an organization that I respect and believe in their senior leaders? Before I go on, I also want to mention, like, you'll see a lot of these may have some overlap into the next engagement driver, and it's almost unavoidable, but I think it's important to be able to distinguish one engagement driver from the next, because what stands out to me and what drives me may not be as much of a factor in your employee experience. So the next one is autonomy and freedom to innovate. And this is one of my top 3. It is important for me to have the autonomy to make decisions and the freedom to be creative and innovative in the work that I do. Ask yourself, do I feel more energized when I'm trusted to decide how to execute my work, how to do my work? Does micromanagement or lack of creative freedom drain my enthusiasm for what I do? And is my commitment tied to being empowered to try and new things and new approaches and ideas? The next one is employee voice. It is important for me to be able to voice my opinions and concerns and ideas when feeling seen and heard and appreciated when doing so. Do I feel more committed when I know that my input actually shapes decisions or improvements? When I bring up questions to my manager, are they quick to shut them down? Are they thanking me for my input? Do I lose excitement for a role when I'm not listened to or taken seriously? Like, those can be major factors in how an employee feels in their job. And I will tell you, just looking at the different generations that are in the workforce now, we're seeing a lot of this pop up with the Gen Y, somewhat of the millennials, but like, I'm Gen X, and we were the ones who were told to just shut up, sit down, do your work. But you're seeing a lot of this now with millennials and Gen Ys and even Gen Zs. They want to have a voice. And I think it's terrific. I think it's wonderful. But yeah, generational differences in the workforce, that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, seriously.
Camaraderie with coworkers. The statement is, it is important for me to work in an environment where employees show genuine interest in the lives of their coworkers and spending time together. So are you someone who really thrives in an environment where positive relationships exist, and do they make you feel more energized and connected? When I'm going out on PTO, do I have a team of coworkers that are like, hey, you go, enjoy your time, we'll pick up whatever's left. That way I can come back and be like, okay, let me pick up where I left off. But I think that's so important, especially because we spend more time with our coworkers than we do with our families sometimes. So to not have those trusting relationships can, really be hurtful for some people. The next one is meaningful work. This could be taken a couple of different ways. The statement is, it is important for me to understand the purpose of my work and see how my contributions align with the organization's missions and goals and impact overall success. When I first saw the term meaningful work, I thought it meant like, oh, is the company doing something for charity, or do we have a particular philanthropy that we invest in? And that is valid, but this is specifically about understanding how my work contributes to the greater business goals. So question you may want to ask yourself to determine if this is important for you is, do I feel more excited when I know I'm making a difference? Does understanding how my work fits into the bigger picture increase my motivation? And would I struggle to be committed to my work if I felt it was meaningless, or I couldn't understand, or I didn't understand how it impacts business goals? And I promise I'm getting there. Employee well-being.
You're doing great.
It's important for me to work for an organization that prioritizes employee well-being and offers meaningful support for physical, mental, and emotional health. So, does my engagement increase when I know my employer respects my boundaries and health? Would lack of support for my employee well-being, for my personal well-being, lead me to burnout? Yes. Or even dissatisfaction more quickly? Yes. That's just for me. And am I likely to thrive when I know that my mental and emotional health and physical health are part of the workplace culture? The last organization that I worked for, I had to, within the first 6 months of working there, I had to undergo major surgery, and I was put out on, I had to be out for about 3 months. And that, like, not all organizations would be very understanding. And I was working in New York at the time. In New York State, FMLA says that you're only qualified, you have to be there for a year unless your employer will just, decides otherwise and wants to offer that to you within the first year. And my employer did offer that to me within my first year, and that was a huge sign of the culture that they offered. And I'm still incredibly grateful for that time, because not only did I have the resources to, they had an EAP, and I was able to talk with people who could send me to the right specialists. But again, they're like, you take the time you need. We believe in you. That's why we hired you. And when you come back, just pick up where you left off, but we've got you. Oh, wow. So yeah, it really can make or break an experience for some people. Finally, the last one, professional growth and development. It is important for me to work for an organization that fosters a culture of continuous learning and improvement. So this includes skill development, career advancement, personal growth, and just knowing that the organization is committed to my long-term success. I love this one. I love all of them. This one is interesting. For many years, especially as I was coming up in my career, professional growth was seen as something that was linear. It was just, you just go up. And the only way to grow is to become a people manager. Well, I hate to tell you, one, not everybody wants to be a people manager. And two, not everybody should be a people manager.
That's true.
That doesn't mean that there shouldn't be other growth opportunities, development opportunities. How can we grow out? How can we offer a career path for people who may not want to be people leaders, but can grow as subject matter experts? Are we sending them to conferences? Are we sending them to get certifications? I mean, to have that subject matter expert as an internal consultant or leading projects even, that's huge. And people want to know that they have opportunities to grow in a variety of directions. So, you want to ask yourself, do I feel more excited to contribute when I'm developing new skills and expanding my impact? And would I be less likely to stay at a company that doesn't invest in my growth and development? And there you have your 11 engagement drivers for employee happiness.
I love it. And amazing job going through all 11 of those. But that last one, that's the self-actualization. And another piece of that, I think, being able to enhance your own skills and improve your own career development is huge. And then the other side of that is just feeling like your role or what the company is doing is meaningful and is making a difference in the world. And I think the research that we've seen is that piece is very important, especially to those younger generations that have a voice. So anyways, I think that piece is so important, and there's multiple facets of reaching that, like the career development and finding purpose and meaning in the work. So
yeah. And if I can be so bold as to ask the both of you, now that we've gone through it, what are your top 3 engagement drivers?
that's a
good question. I took notes. I wrote all 11 down, so I'm just going to read them out loud, and then I think that'll help me.
Yeah,
So
think through
1, and correct me if I get anything wrong, rewards and recognition. 2, trust in managers. 3, physical work environment. 4, psychological safety. 5, confidence and leadership. 6, autonomy. 7, employee voice. 8, camaraderie with coworkers. 9, meaningful work. 10, support for physical, mental, emotional health and well-being. 11, professional development. Did I get that right?
Yeah. The one for autonomy, the second piece of that is freedom to innovate. And I'm a stickler. The only reason I'm a stickler for that is because it's one of my top 3. So it's both like the ability to execute in a way that, being trusted to execute that I see fit, and have the ability to innovate and be creative.
Yeah. Okay.
I think for me, that would be one of my top 3 as well. And then also I would say psychological safety. And I'd probably say the meaningful work. Yeah. For me. What about you, Matt?
Well, for me, it would definitely be camaraderie with coworkers, because my wife is my coworker.
100%.
So definitely that one, but also the other people that I work with. I work with some really cool people. I would say the autonomy and freedom to innovate is really important for me as well. I think it's one of the reasons why I wanted to start a business. Yeah, to be an entrepreneur. And because I've had lots of situations in different work settings where I had research, I had data of like, hey, this is a really good idea, and then another choice was made, and it's okay, you follow the leadership, but I would love to be able to pursue my own path with data. And just a really small side story, there was one time in college I was working a job, and they wanted to fire me. I actually had in my numbers that I was, one of the top performers in the department. They wanted to fire me because they were making a department-wide scheduling change, and my school schedule was 1 hour different. And so I needed a 1 hour adjustment or adaptation to the schedule, and they didn't want to accommodate that. And so they were just going to let me go. And I basically went to them and said, like, you can't do this. This is not cool. Like, I signed up, you gave me the schedule, and I'm a great worker. I'm performing really well. And I ended up having a one-on-one meeting with the CEO, and expressed that kind of frustration that I was working really hard and they were just going to let me go for this 1 hour difference. And what he said changed my life. He said, this is my company. I can run it how I want. When you are in charge of your own company, you can run it how you want. And
I have so many questions.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was just almost taken off guard, and they actually sent me to go chat with HR, and they ended up transferring. They said, okay, we'll not fire you, but they reassigned me to a completely different department, and I had to get retrained and all this other stuff instead of staying where I was really efficient. And I'm not saying this to brag, just to illustrate, but that's that metric that you had to hit or to like stay employed, and I was more than double that number. So just kind of crazy how that worked out, but it really made an impact on me. So the autonomy piece, to be able to, I want to really treat people like people, and maybe we have to say no to something, but I'm I'm definitely going to say it with some psychological safety as the
Of
copy
course.
sprinkled on that message.
Well, I am so sorry for that experience for you. But at the same time, what I'm hearing is, A, it changed your life. You said, gave you the motivation to do things differently. Same with me. The toxic work environments I worked in, I had a manager tell us if he was he was waiting for a particular call to come through. And if he said he's going to be in another meeting, but if that call came through, he will drop everything, make sure he knows. Well, the call came through, and of course, I'm the one who answered it. And I went into his office and I said, "Hey, so-and-so's on the phone for you." And he looked at me, swear to God, looked at me straight in the face and said, "Renee, sometimes you are really stupid." Said that to me. This was 1998.
Oh
And
my
so
goodness.
I just kind of tucked my tail between my legs and walked away. And unfortunately, I had a number of like those types of instances in various forms that I'm just like, this is not how we treat people.
No,
At the beginning of the year, sorry, and this was my other thing, inspiration, I would say, for a long time coming. The beginning of the year, I decided that anything I do, both professionally and personally, it's kind of like my New Year's resolution. Anything I do, both professionally and personally, moving forward, was to build my legacy. Now, I'm not trying to be morbid, but I'm going to give you a morbid example. If I was on my deathbed, God forbid, and I was looking back over my life, what am I going to be proud of?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be proud of, and I'm not saying this is for everybody, I'm not going to be proud of the numbers I produced. I'm not going to be proud of working 15-hour days. What I'm going to be proud of is the actual impact I make on other people's lives. How did I make a difference? Did I plant a seed somewhere? And these are things I may or may not know about, but I want other people to feel empowered, whether it's my kids, my husband, my family, my friends, my coworkers. I have a good friend. She's kind of like, by the way, I'm a big advocate for mentorship. And I think we can all have mentors that help us both personally and professionally. And you have many mentors. I had a mentor when I was a young mom, and she really helped me come into my own. And I'll also be transparent. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober for 22 years.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. And I don't say that to get words of accolades, although I appreciate it. But she was someone who really helped me understand the type of sober mother I wanted to be. And she was sharing with me that she had gone through a difficult time. And she said, what I learned during that time is that people that come into your life at that time can really, because you're so impressionable, can make a big difference for better or for worse. And she was a teacher, and her example was she was walking through the halls of her school, and the same janitor was there every single day, singing at the top of his lungs, happy.
Oh, wow.
I mean, really just, and she was in such a mood where she was like, oh, I don't want to hear the laughter. I don't want to see the smiles. But one day she just stopped him and she said, okay, I have to ask you, what are you so happy about? I mean, she was miserable. She's like, what are you so happy about? And the example I'm going to share, like what he shared, it's not what he shared that makes the point of this, but it's that anybody can have that level of impact on your life. And he said, it's my faith. I go to this particular church. It instilled a real faith inside my heart, and I can get through anything now. And because of that, she started going to his church. And even though she didn't stay with his church, it changed her life. She started to seek out her own faith. Now, I'm not trying to bring religion into this at all. That's not the point. My point is, if you're open and people are coming in and out of your life, anybody can make that difference as long as you're open. So having said all that, my legacy is to make sure that I am positioning myself to make a positive difference in other people's lives. And it sounds a little hokey, but it truly is what I feel I am called to do.
And I think you're succeeding at that. And it's a very admirable thing. And I think Matt and we both agree on this topic that people come into your lives at different times. And, you know, you may not like have a best friend forever, right? Or you may have a great marriage and everything, but they come into your life at different times for different reasons. And I love that thought of being open to learn. And we talk about that a lot. It's a growth mindset, right? We're
Yes.
willing to change and adapt and progress. And that's why we're here. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love that you use the words growth mindset, because it's something that we can apply both personally and to our professional lives.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I want to hear what your other two are.
Oh, okay. So so I will say that autonomy and freedom to innovate was my number one.
Okay.
And meaningful work, understanding the purpose of my work and how it connects to the larger picture. But I realized that in order to have both of those, I needed to have a trust in my manager. And I was so lucky that I did. I worked for, talk about the youth coming up in profession. I worked for a woman who was 15 years my junior. And she was the most impactful manager I have ever had. And she gave me that space, that trust to execute my work in a way that really exhibited my strengths and to innovate and work creatively. She listened to me. She would get me on a Zoom call just to say, hey, I want a second set of eyes on this. I want your opinion on this. And it was like, it lit me up. So what I will say, even though maybe trust and manager isn't everybody's number one, I really do believe that our experience at work starts and ends with our manager. You've heard people say, like, people don't leave jobs, they leave people, or they leave managers. And I really believe that to be true, at least for me.
Yeah.
She made such a significant difference in my life. And she's the one who came up with the engagement drivers. I'm just iterating on it.
That's the beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She literally said to me once, she said she would hold these, every month she would hold what she called an engagement meeting, where she would sit me down, and it wasn't about performance and it wasn't about like a status update on projects. It was, okay, Renee, we're going to sit down and I want to hear how you're doing at work in terms of how are you feeling? And not that she played therapist, but she said, I want to know so that I can better support you. What do you need? How can I help you? And when you open up that conversation, that type of dialogue, a manager may hear things that they don't necessarily want to hear. But if you are a good manager and you put your ego aside and you have genuine interest and curiosity in making work better for your team, that is really going to help you. So having that information is going to be incredibly powerful and impactful for your team, because they know that you really care.
Yeah.
So on that end, being open is huge as well to be a good manager. And I think this whole topic is so impactful to anyone who's listening right now. Whether you're a recruiter, engagement is huge to recruit. And then also for managers, this is a huge piece. And then for those who are team members, you can pay attention to this. Are you being fulfilled in your job? And if not, chase your dreams, like Renee's sons here. Okay. Do what makes you passionate and excited. So thank you so much for all of your amazing insights. And I love these 11 pieces. And I think everyone listening should go back and figure out what their top 3 are as well that drive them. So anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I thank you, Renee. And for everyone listening, we'll make sure to put her LinkedIn link on there as well, so you can connect and follow her and continue your journey to better engagement. People leaders, definitely make sure you're thinking about this for your team and adapting how you can support your team members individually. Any final thoughts as we wrap up here, Renee?
No, I just want to say it's been such a pleasure talking with you. In high school, my English teacher went up to my father at like an open house and he said, if you put an ear of corn next to Renee, she would talk to it. So any chance I have the opportunity to talk, no, but this was fantastic. But to be able to talk about something that I truly love, it brings me a lot of joy. So.
Well, you're so articulate. You explained everything perfectly, and I think everyone will have lots to think about after this. So please check out our highlight article so you can look through those 11 one more time. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Renee.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Culture Profit podcast and for being a part of our journey to prove that putting people first is best for business.
Today's episode was sponsored by Mobrium.
Want to get more employee reviews and streamline your employer reputation? Visit mobrium.com.
Now go find one way to prioritize your people and watch your profits grow.